Hello and welcome to the Hero Spouse. I'm Kendra Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have Roger. Roger is a left-behind spouse with a bomb drop of September 20th, 2022, and a date of marriage of 1993. He has a vanisher who is a high-energy replayer. So he says, my wife is now living with my daughter 1,000 miles away, and her affair is online only right now. I'm sure it's a scammer. She sends money to him every week. How can I stop the affair, or should I do anything? She has a job, but he always wants more money than she makes. My daughter doesn't seem to know that it's a scam, and she almost encourages it. So a few things. First thing, we don't know that your wife's actually a vanisher yet because your bomb drop is so new. She's gone far away. You have some information. She gives him money. She gives him regularly. Your daughter doesn't know. And so I agree with you that there's a good possibility of a scammer because she's sending him money every week, more than she even has. That is not the standard. That's not a norm. That is a catfishing type of behavior. You're right. And I don't know how you stop that sort of thing. We can work on showing the person the errors that are going on in these correspondences, but you might not have an end to that. So I was wondering more about your daughter. Your daughter almost encourages it and doesn't seem to know that it's a scam. And I'm wondering why. And I'm baffled. So first thing, is your daughter gullible? Or is she street smart, and what is her feeling towards your mom? What is her feeling toward you or the information she's giving you? Does she have some reason that she's starting to turn against and take a side? And so she's encouraging it because she's believing any of the bad things mom may have said about dad. Now, I'm just guessing on these things because I'm really wondering why your daughter is encouraging it. Or is your daughter buying into it as well? And then it's the why. Because certain things that they do on these scams make me more skeptical that she would buy into it unless she is already extremely trusting and gullible. And one of the things that I recall from, I think, Dr. Phil saying when he interviewed and has talked to the probably companies that set up phone scammers. He says they don't ask them to change their grammar mistakes and language when they're corresponding with their bait, the catfish person that their target. Because if we get somebody who will trust us and believe in us, given all the errors, given the things that are so obvious, if we get somebody that can look past those things, we've got a sucker. We've got them hook, line, and sinker. So we can show all the errors and they still believe. I don't know if this is a midlife crisis or if it's something else. What has happened to your wife to make her feel this? What has made her so vulnerable to this sort of scam? Why is she a target? And what is it in her that is making this thing so easy to believe? Things that are so obvious to outsiders. And yet she needs so badly to believe in this. Now, for your part, what can you do? I don't know. What I would do is, for your part, I would look up catfishing and how to handle it with your spouse, because there's probably articles on that. And then I want to, you to figure out what you need to do for you in this, because there might be things you can or can't do. Can you protect any finances? Are there things you can do to prevent some finances from being lost, or at least shore up your finances? Are there any of hers you can even protect? For instance, this isn't exactly parallel, but when my husband left for his midlife crisis, I was determined not to lose my house because I thought I needed to save the house so he has somewhere to return to, so that we're going to have something stable when he gets back. We're going to have a stable home. And by stable, I didn't mean mentally family. I meant we actually have a home to live in, and it's paid up, that sort of thing. We're not going to be out on the street. If there's any money you can protect of yours, that's to protect you. But are there other assets that can be protected so that she remains protected, even though she's not going to see it that way? Because I want you to think about what you need to do, not only for you, but in the background that can lay a netting of protection. For as she falls, she's going to get caught in these different nets as she falls, and then she might fall through, or a net will have stretch and it bangs down to the next one. But she's going to get caught, and it's going to hold her and protect her. She won't think of it as doing that. She will think of it as you interfering. And sometimes right now, you have to figure out what is more important. Now, in some situations, depending on how you're handling it, sometimes it's more important to say, I have to cut my losses, not because I am upset and angry and hate her, but I have to protect myself. If you're going through too much trauma and spinning and emotional cycling, you've got to stop. You've got to focus on your healing. Then, only then, when you really are stronger, can you look back and say, is there anything I can do that can help her? And it might be indirect help, things that you can do so that when she does figure things out. And I really think that you should go looking up what to do in catfishing schemes, because that's not something that is typical for a midlife crisis situation, but it's not unheard of in the sense that they're vulnerable. And she is, for some reason, vulnerable to this sort of scam right now. Why? Other than, oh, it's a midlife crisis. Because we often see the people who are the most vulnerable are older people who might be widows, could be freshly divorced, but widowers who are in an age range even above midlife crisis age range. They're lonely. Now let's say, was she lonely? And why was she lonely? Without making any accusations, I also want you, and I want this for everybody, to look inward at ourselves and what were the sins we had in our marriage. What did we do that wasn't right? And if we did these things right, why does our spouse feel this way? What was missing that caused them, even though we were doing our best to fill that? Because sometimes we do the right thing and it still doesn't. They still don't see it that way. So there are things that maybe we didn't do well. And maybe we were perfect. We did it well. And the bad stuff still happened. I don't know if this was helpful because I don't know about catfishing. But I hope some of what I could say was helpful. And I will see everybody in the next question.